Hello and welcome to the Physiology of Endurance Running podcast. I'm Owain. I'm joined by Dan. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Owain. Yeah, excited for Castle's Relay this weekend. Biggest race of the year. Can't wait to, full send it up at Brecon Beacons. It's going to be great.
And we're also joined for the intro by Jen. You're about to hear an interview with Jen, but Jen's also stuck around for the intro. How are you doing, Jen?
I'm all good, thanks. How are
Good.
you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. So as always, we're sponsored by SAW. SAW have an event running for the summer solstice, which involves you submitting the exercise you've done to SAW and getting a discount. So there's different discount levels associated with different amounts of time that you've exercised from the start of June to the 21st of June. So if you do up to 14 hours of exercise, you get £25 credit with SAW. If you do up to 21 hours, you get £45 of credit. And then over 21 hours, you get £75 of credit. If you check out our socials, it will be on our story. Or if you go to SAW's socials, you'll see a link to how to sign up and then how to submit your evidence. But we're always saying how great the SAW kit is and how we enjoy just any run in it, no matter sort of the speed or the distance, and then how much it improves our marathon performance as well, being able to carry gels. So if you're really keen to try out some SAW kit, this is a really good way to get a bit of money off and dive into the world of SAW. But yeah, thanks as always, SAW.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, really nice stuff. Just to echo that, great way to dip your toe in, and you'll be hooked, Ben. You'll be hooked. You'll be taking out a mortgage, and having a full wardrobe full of SAW kit, and you'll feel great. So yeah, definitely go and check that out. So one of the other big announcements that we have today is the launch of the Endurance Collective. So this is a collective of endurance coaches, primarily me, Jen and Owain, and not primarily, exclusively me, Jen and Owain. And it's I've got very similar philosophies in our coaching approach. I guess the tagline is we're going to blend an evidence-based approach to training as we do with a podcast, but combined with that experience that we have of being in the sport collectively for a decade. So we're all still trying to run the fastest we can, combining that with work and life and other stuff. And yeah, you might be sick of one more online coaching platform on the market, but I'd say we're unique in that how it works is you will have a coach lead, be that Jen or Owain or myself, but you have the collective access to all of our experiences and knowledge. So, for example, if I've got an athlete who wants to start doing some hot bath training, I'm going to refer them to Owain, and Owain can go and lead on that intervention there. Supervised, obviously, by myself as well. Is going to be a collective approach. And similarly, Jen has got vast swathes of experience and knowledge in particular areas. She's been to major championship events, etc. Been to altitudes. None of us have ever been to altitude. How can you structure your training to take into account those different factors? So you'll have one lead coach, but access to the knowledge, a collective knowledge of all the others, basically in this group. So to get a clearer explanation of what the Endurance Collective is, head to our website, which has been a bit of work over the last month, but it's looking really good, I'd say. Well done, Jen. And on there is obviously a description of what we offer, pricing, etc. You can then fill out, if you're interested, an online form that just collects a few details about your training history, your goals, etc., some key information that we'll need. And then we will review all of them, and we'll be in contact within about a week to let you know if we can take you on or not. We want to keep numbers really small because like I did when I started taking athletes on in September, I can't coach 50 people really well. I can't coach probably 25 people really well. We want to keep the numbers small, high quality, and make sure that you're getting a really good service. So if you are interested, get your name down early. We will operate a waiting list. If you're if you're not successful and you get selected that first time round. But obviously understand, but for some people that's not going to work. Like, you want a coach now, you've got a big A race in 3 months' time. Getting a coach 2 weeks out from that is not going to be very helpful. So yeah, just head to the website. All the information's there. Any questions, just drop us a message, drop the Instagram page a message, and we'll get back to you as soon as you can. But yeah, a new chapter, really exciting start. Anything else that I've missed here, guys, that you need to add in?
Don't think so. I think you summed it up pretty well.
Yeah, so head to the website for all the information. Any questions, just drop us a message on social media, on the Instagram page or on individual profiles. But yeah, looking forward to starting off this cool project.
Yeah, so we're about to interview Jen. So yeah, enjoy the interview, and we'll catch you next time.
And we're very lucky today to be joined by Jenny Nesbitt. Jen, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm all good. It's been a bit soggy, but apart from that, it's been a pretty good Thursday.
Yeah. Are we going with Jen or Jenny? How do we refer to you? Jen?
Jen, yeah. I feel that's more laid back. Jenny's almost bordering on like I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you might be. So we're going to dive into how you use sports science in your training, how it informs your practice, how that's evolved over time. But do you want to start with just telling us how you got into running? How was your gateway into the running world?
I feel like my gateway into the running world's pretty standard. I was like very competitive from like day dot, loved sport, did everything really. The only thing I couldn't make the team on at school was the athletics team. I wasn't very good at the sprinting and no one wanted the 800. So I signed myself up. I think I was about 12. And ever since then, I've been pretty addicted to it, to be honest.
Nice. And what was your first club?
Worcester Athletics Club. So yeah, joined Worcester off like the advice of a teacher at school. And my first coach, Dave Walker, kind of like took me from like the age of 12 to, must have been about 19, 20. He got me my first GB vest, had a big role in getting me to my first Commonwealth Games as well. So yeah, he was a great like advisor and role model for me growing up. And then I joined the mighty Cardiff, and then onto the even better Pontypridd.
Yeah, it's what all good people do: join Cardiff and then go to Ponty. We're just waiting for Owain to do the same, and we'll skip the Cardiff bit. Just straight Cardiff club straight to Ponty. Yeah. And did you always have success? Were you successful straight from the go?
I mean, like growing up, I definitely sort of like managed to like compete in the top sort of 4 or 5 in the country. Like English schools, I was 4th. Mini marathon, I was 2nd. UK school games, I was 3rd. So I think I was always kind of up there or thereabouts. But it was like I guess I probably was training like a lot more in terms of like minutes of running a week than a lot of people at that age, and kind of then moving into the seniors, I found it quite challenging.
Yeah. So what were the challenges you faced transitioning from junior to senior?
2 knee surgeries. So both the cartilages on the back of my patellas went in like 2 consecutive years, at the age of 18 and 19, I think. So like I think just from a combination of probably overtraining, running like a little bit too hard and a bit too much mileage at a young age, probably like contributed to those. But I cross-trained like an absolute manic and managed to kind of get myself back on track after kind of having to like settle down a little bit and be a little bit more smart with my training.
So what did a typical week look like for 16-year-old Jen?
I wish I had my piece of written out training diary that I found the other day from my coach, because he used to write all my training out on a piece of paper for me each week, and I'd just follow that. And I didn't run with a Garmin or anything. I just had a Casio, and it would typically be probably like a 45-minute run on a Monday, like a 20-minute jog on a Tuesday morning, followed by a track session, which would probably be something like 10 400s. I think Wednesday would be a rest day. Thursday would be a steady run.
Tempo, is that?
A tempo. Well, yeah, I'll get to how fast I run everything in a minute. But Friday would just be like an easy half an hour. Saturday I used to do sprint club. So I'd go down to the track and I'd do sprint training with the sprinting lot, which was horrendous. And then Sunday be anywhere up to kind of 80 minutes for a long run, probably. But if I look back at kind of the pace I was running, I think everything was just steady. Like I had no like ability to kind of run easy at all. Which I think maybe that was part of the reason, like I was perhaps a little bit more successful at such a young age, because I was probably like just training a little bit too intensely, but it wasn't sustainable.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's that's a lot of training as a teenager, doing double sessions and high intensity, and probably combined with running everything too fast. I mean, it's also very young to have 2 knee surgeries, isn't it? So yeah,
absolutely,
it's easy to draw 2 and 2 make 4, but you never know what the situation was. But yeah. But so, how did you come back from your surgery and getting back into GB vests, and what does that look like?
I had a big motivator of the 2018 Commonwealth Games. I had my second knee surgery in I want to say August of 2017. So I had and the Commonwealth Games in 2018 were like early, I think it was like the 7th of April I raced. So I had, what's that, like 6 months from knee surgery to 10K start line. But I think because I'd already been there the year before, I had like a pretty good idea of like what the rehab looked like. And it was just about like building up slowly. And I had the advice from Adam Rattenbury, who I worked really closely with, kind of all through that rehab. And it was just kind of being smart and trying not to rush the process, even though it seemed like I had such little time. I managed to maintain quite a lot of fitness, kind of cross training and stuff. And then like reevaluating my diet and my recovery and all the other things like sleep and stuff that go into kind of ensuring your body's in a good place. So those are the kind of the main things I focused on, I guess, rehabbing from my knee surgery.
And you alluded to running easy runs too fast. Let's have some numbers.
I was actually horrified to look back the other day, and my runs in 2015, 2016, easy runs, 6-minute miling or quicker. And I just don't know how I did it. Like, I know I'm old now, but like, still, like, that's horrendous. Straight out the door as well. No warm up.
6-minute flat.
Yeah. But if I then look back at what my threshold sessions looked like, it was like 5:45. So it's kind of that. Now I have a much better understanding of like training zones and things. You can see doesn't match up.
Yeah, classic. Just falling to the middle, all grey zone. Just everything pretty hard, but actually, apart from your sprint club, nothing.
Yeah,
nothing
apart from
really
the sprint
fast.
club, I still haven't broken like 14 seconds for the 100 meters, but
me neither. Me neither.
At that point, had you like interacted at all with like any sort of sports science service, or just going off of
of field? It wasn't until I met Chris Jones in I guess he became my coach at the beginning of 2018, and he introduced me to kind of sports science and the famous bin analogy he always used to give me about overflowing bins and water pouring out of them and not training in the right zones and just flooding yourself. And I remember sitting at a Welsh athletics endurance camp in Mercia and him telling me this theory and bawling my eyes out thinking like I had failed. Like but then also going out about half an hour later and running a 5-mile run at about 6-minute miling. So I think I was quite a challenging person to deal with.
So Chris Jones shaped your training quite a lot from there, and he obviously got you to the Commonwealth Games in 2018. Tell us a little bit about that experience, Gold Coast.
It was honestly like probably to this day one of the best sort of sporting related thing I've ever done in my life. I honestly didn't think I was going until I think 3 days before I boarded the flight. I think I was like first reserve for the team, and someone dropped out of injury. And I got this phone call at the time. I can't remember who it was from, but they were like, "Oh, you fancy like coming to the Commonwealth Games? The flight's on Monday. I think this was on the Friday. If you're ready and you feel like you can do it, like we'll see you on Monday at Heathrow." I was like, "Okay, sign me up."
And did you manage to get to the holding camp beforehand?
Yeah, I think that was mainly the reason I enjoyed it so much, because we stayed on the Sunshine Coast for about 5 weeks before the games, and just used it as like a training camp. And it was like this amazing place called Malula Bar that had like this fantastic beach and this great like I can say pond, but it was a lot bigger than a pond to run around for training
A
and stuff.
lake, is that?
Yes, a lake. It was, and like kangaroos on the track in the morning. Like, oh, it was just fantastic. And I think I was 20 or 21 at the time. So for me, that was like my first kind of experience doing anything like that. And it opened my eyes up to kind of what I could do if I like trained smart and stuff growing up, and like in the future years.
And how did the games themselves go?
I mean, I ran a PB by about half a second, but I did come like second last in the race. So not the best result, but I don't think at the time I cared. I was just like happy. I was happy to be there. I was just happy to be there.
To be honest, though, performing at your best, the best you've ever done at major championships, you can't really ask for more, can you? And I don't imagine conditions were ideal for running fast. 5K,
Absolutely.
right? 5K?
10K in my
10K.
first, 10K in my first games. And yeah, I mean, I think it was probably about 28, 29 degrees and like pretty high humidity. And you just got, I think I was quite naive as well. Like you just get carried away and you don't really run your own race. Like you're just there and it's like, right, well, I'm just going to try and stick with these like amazing athletes for as long as I can. And it usually backfires with with you if you're not quite in that sort of shape as well.
Yeah. And what came after 2018? What was the trajectory like from there? Because you made another Commonwealth Games, but there's 4 years in between that.
4 years. Well, we had COVID, so that took out about 2 years. But I went to a couple of European cross countries. I finished 10th in 2021 at Eurocross in Dublin. I think that was probably one of my best performances that I've ever had. And a week later, I ran 8:44 for the 3,000 meters indoors. So I was a bit of a purple patch, I'd say.
And then later that year, a low 15 5K.
Yeah, followed up by a 15.
At the start of the next year.
Yeah, 15:18 5K at the beginning of 2022, which qualified me for the Commonwealth Games that year, which was in Birmingham. So I really had like a really good sort of 6 months, I guess, at the back end of 2021. But I also had like 2 years leading up into that where it was COVID, but we did have access to like, we had like the special letters that let you go and travel to races and things. And I was struggling to break 16 minutes for the 5K. I remember going to British indoors for the 3K and running something like 9:18 in the 3K, and it felt like a really hard effort. But my training changed quite a lot at the beginning of 2021. And I think by the time I got to sort of November, December of that year, the kind of continuous change and sticking to the plan and all that sort of stuff really helped. And we introduced lactic training as well. Well, you did a lot of it for me, Dan, actually, in Butte Park.
Yeah, they were the days, weren't they? Coming out to hang out in Butte Park, take some lactates. Yeah.
So I think that had like pretty significant impact actually on those results at the back end of 21 and beginning of 2022.
Yeah, and so you made the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, the 5K this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, another good experience.
Another really good experience, a slightly better result. I think I came 12th. But because it was in Birmingham, like all my school friends, all my family, everybody was able to come and watch, which was like, for me, really special because like the girls from school, like I, in the nicest way possible, are quite clueless to like what the running world looks like. So I think for them, it was like nice to see me in my environment. And And I really that was really special for me, them coming to watch.
You've got friends who aren't runners.
I know, it's a shock, isn't it?
I don't have any of them.
There's a very select group of them.
Nice. And then I guess most recently you competed for Great Britain at the European Road Running Championships.
Yeah, that was
on the road 10K this time.
Yeah,
Also qualified for the half marathon.
Yeah, so I qualified for the half and the 10K, and I had the choice of which one I wanted to do, and I decided at the time that 10K was probably a better option for kind of where I was in training. So went with the 10K, but the course out there was really, really challenging. It didn't look that bad on if you look at a course map and an elevation chart, but actually running it was tough, and it was cobbles at the beginning, downhill, and it was peeing it down with rain as well. So just made for a little bit of an extra challenge. And I wasn't happy with the result, to be honest. I went into it with a little bit of a niggle from the week beforehand, which isn't ideal. But it was also something I'd be getting back in a GB vest was something I'd worked really hard for since Eurocross in 2021. So I think just making the team and being there for me was a massive kind of deal.
You must have accumulated quite a few vests over years by now.
I have.
You got a count?
In double figures. I think I'm 13, and I've got a vest over all disciplines now as well, which I'm quite pleased about.
Overall, cross country, track and road.
Yeah.
So you got ultra to collect. You got mountain. Anything else?
I don't know.
Sprinting,
race walking.
Yeah. Turn into a multi-eventer.
Watch this space.
Yeah. So you've had a big evolution in your performances since you started out. Obviously, I'm just going through your Para 10 here. So you got 16:03 in 2015 on the track for 5K. Now down to a best of 15:10 last year.
Yeah.
What do you think has been? What do you put that down to? That evolution of performance? Is it is it training changes? Is it just more years of training, getting a bit older, and more mileage in the bank?
I think it's probably a combination of a lot of things. I think obviously, I think I worked out the other day, I've run over 65,000 miles in my life, which is a lot of running. And you'd hope to see progression from just doing that. But I also think a change in my training from when I was a junior to where I am now has been fundamental to that progression as well. Reducing the intensity and kind of dividing it up better within a week and focusing more on recovery and easy running, and hard days being a little bit I wouldn't say harder, but kind of more purposeful. I'm turning up to training, having a better understanding of what I'm doing for that day and what we want the result to be. I guess experience is another thing. I've been thrown into a lot of different environments over the years, and I think that's really helped me develop as an athlete. And also just being happy outside of running. I think sometimes it's really easy to forget that stress is stress, regardless of whether it's coming from your training or your racing or something else in life. And that's something I've really focused on over the last kind of 4 years, is trying to find a better balance, because I don't think I've always had it, and I've burnt the candle at both ends a little bit. And that's been really reflected in kind of training and racing results. So I guess all of that combined probably helped get me to where I am now.
Yeah. I mean, on that later point, I think, that's completely underappreciated. If everything is collapsing outside of running, then you're not going to run well. And the vice versa. I've been running really well and actually realized that it's not made me that happy running great times if everything else is going to shit. So you do need to, you can't, it's, people talk about the dream of going all in on running, but you've got to have this balance, haven't you? I don't know if this is going outside of physiology, but I just think it's an interesting point. And would you echo that, Owain?
Yeah, I think so. You can tell if you start running, even you easy run and you're stressed, it impacts it, doesn't it? I guess you'd call it psychophysiological factors. We're
Yeah.
being really scientific. Yeah, no, it's really important, and yeah, like you want to enjoy what you're spending 10 hours a week doing, 10 hours a
Absolutely.
week, and and many hours more thinking about.
Absolutely. And I think coming perhaps from where running, I viewed it as my job, and it's perhaps not gone exactly to plan. Like it's really, it's not fun, and it's really stressful if you've got nothing outside of the 2 to 3 hours of training you're doing a day. Like what, like you're sat there and you're just continually thinking about like what you could be doing, what you should have done. Like, is this going to go okay? How are you going to get to this race in a good place? And that's just not a fun place to be.
And I've only got a very very brief like glimpse of it, but like getting picked for a team, or at various points you've been sponsored, like that puts more pressure on you, that like it's hard not to feel like there's a bit of a target on your back.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think for me, like I always felt like people were judging me. Like regardless of whether I had a good or a bad result, I always felt like people were judging what my next move was, and I wasn't able to perhaps make the smartest decisions because I was worried about what other people were going to like think or judge me on. Whereas now, like everything's driven by me and Dave, and like we pick and choose what races I'm going to do. And if there's a race that's meant to be in the plan, but we don't feel like it's quite right or we shouldn't do it, we don't do it. Whereas in the past, I wouldn't have felt comfortable saying no to doing something because I'd be letting down a sponsor or a governing body or somebody else.
So to dive further down that psychology rabbit hole, whilst we're there, how has your mindset changed? Because you've as Owen said, you've been sponsored by various brands, and at the minute you're an unsponsored athlete.
Correct.
How what does how has that changed your perception of running? Is it do you take more? Are you enjoying it more, or and finding less pressure, or are you still just as driven? Still feel the pressure to perform? How has it influenced your mindset, I guess, and your relationship with running?
I definitely think I'm just as driven and I want to perform as well as I can. But I think it comes more from within myself rather than external pressure. Um, and perhaps like instead of trying to run or peak for multiple different races in a year, like at the beginning of the year, I sat down and I said, there are two things I really want to achieve this year. Um, and everything else is a bonus or everything else leads to these two outcomes. Whereas in the past, it'd been like, well, in May, I want to do this. And then after that, I want to do this in 3 weeks. And I got to do that track race to prove this result. And then I've got to run this time in order to remain on funding for that. Whereas now it's like, no, these are the two things I really want to achieve. And I can have a lot more fun around that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's that performance planning we talked about a few episodes ago, isn't it? Like that's the end goal, and then how do you get there, and how do you plan training and other races towards that target, rather than just like scattergun, or don't know what the right term is, but doing a race and then like literally the next day being like, okay, what's in 2 or 3 weeks time,
Yeah. And
like
I
that.
think
Yeah.
that's something I've been really bad at in the past. It's like perhaps I haven't had a result that I wanted. So I got to find a race next weekend to prove that I'm actually better than that result. Whereas I probably just needed to take a step back in order to move like 2 steps forward. And that's something I've been able to do this year because I haven't felt that pressure.
I think it
Yeah.
takes some maturity though, doesn't it? Like it's hard to not think, have that mindset and just be short termist and think about the next race, and because running is so quantifiable, you go, right, that's my worth. That time that came off my power 10, that's what I'm worth at the minute. I'm not happy with that stock level. I need to increase that. Like go and race again, and yeah, move up the national rankings or whatever. So it's I think something that obviously you think about, I think about it, and I think other people as well. Whatever level you're operating at, right there, you wanna see good Strava numbers and all this and that, don't you? Shall
Absolutely.
we let's dive into how you have uh, interacted with and utilized sports science over the course of your career. So you mentioned in 2018 was the first time you'd been exposed to having your lactate measured. Is that
Yeah.
right?
So I couldn't like tell you right now exactly what sort of readings I was getting, but I remember a few times being at the track in the evening, getting my lactates done in the session. And I remember Chris turning around going, don't bother just testing Jenny. We know it's going to be high. It's going to be too ridiculous. So I can't say I started off on a good note with any sort of lactate testing. I think my values were always high. And there was a point where I was doing my easy runs and stopping at Sport Wales every 2 miles to get my lactate tested to make sure it was like 1 on like an easy run day. So to give Chris's due, like he tried so hard with me when I was 18, 19 to kind of dial into me like the importance of it. But I think I was too kind of narrow visioned at that point in my career to really take it on board. And I think it wasn't until sort of 2021 that I really sort of embraced the kind of intensity of training and where it should be, and kind of training at my fitness level rather than trying to train at the time I wanted to run in a race, I guess.
Nice. And I mean, I remember taking some lactates from you when you were, probably back in that 2018 period, and seeing if it was 6 millimole, that was quite controlled for you.
Yeah.
But it could be 15,
Yeah.
quite easily. And the problem was you would, or at least appeared that you would find these intensities quite comfortable, but when it comes to a race, they just weren't sustainable for a 5K. Even though you could operate at these sort of intensities for a little bit, and with some recovery, you wouldn't feel too bad. But you found it like it was really holding you back, having to really slow down. Is that right?
Yeah, I almost saw it as taking a step backwards. Like, if I'm running slower, how am I ever going to end up racing faster? And that was the mindset I had for a really long time. And I think it wasn't until I started seeing results in races that I then began to buy into the fact that actually this kind of method of training is really good for me. And I still struggle with it to this day. Like there are still days, because I do the majority of my training and definitely like all of my sessions on my own. There are still days where I'm kind of doubting myself, thinking like, why is running at 5:55 per mile like any benefit to me right now? Like, how is this going to help me run a 10K in like sub 32 minutes? But because I've had positive results, I can kind of remind myself that actually, no, this is what I need to do in order to kind of make the next step.
Yeah, and I, from memory, that 3K where you ran 8:44 was a massive breakthrough, wasn't it? And that did seem to coincide with a period where you'd started to, you've been taking lactate for a while, but starting to actually listen to the lactate numbers and dial back the intensity a bit more. Do you think that's coincidence, or do you think that helped? Because that was, I think, your PB before you'd snuck under 9 minutes, hadn't you? And
No, I hadn't. I think I'd run like 9:02. I think I went to that race wanting to break 9 minutes, I think. And the result on that day like blew all my expectations out of the water. But I don't think it was coincidence at all, because there's been 2 results, that 8:44 in the kind of couple of months before and after it, and the 15:10 I ran, where all my training was completely dictated by lactates. And especially for the 8:44, I didn't run anything quicker than a 68-second 400. And that was on the very odd occasion, like a couple of reps in training, to then go and run, I think the average is like 69.9 or something. We'll say 70s for 3K.
70s, yeah, 8:45.
Yeah. And I think that showed me right there that actually I have the power and the capacity, like the potential to run a quick pace, but I haven't got the strength and the anaerobic threshold to like be able to withstand that intensity for that long. And I think showing that, developing that whole aerobic threshold and all that kind of below stuff really just then helped me to explore what my full potential was over that distance. And the same for the 5K last year when I ran 15:10. I did 2 specific 5K sessions in the lead up to that. All the rest of my training was pretty much either running 3 to 4 millimole in the morning, and then 1.8 to 2.2 in the evening twice a week. And I think if that doesn't scream at me to continue doing this sort of training, then I'm just an idiot.
Yeah, and I think one of the feedbacks we had from last week's episode was like threshold is threshold right for everybody. It's a bit what am I trying to say? Applying the same logic to everybody. And for you, it's obviously worked. But you talked about that performance planning podcast we did, Owain, which was pretty much analyze the individual, where are they weak, where do they need to work, how long is it going to take them to see those adaptations, and then put in a plan to address that. For you, your profile was so obviously you had loads of speed and power, you could develop you could produce lots of lactate, a good anaerobic capacity. It was the aerobic conditioning that you needed to get through that. So for you, that's worked great, isn't it? And I'm sure you were still doing strides and power and strength training as part of that as well. You weren't just doing threshold training in isolation. But,
no.
Yeah.
One thing I would say as well, and I think it goes back to kind of everybody as an individual, is we've found ways of training for me that help kind of increase the benefits of LT1 and LT2, where we might chunk things up slightly differently, break it up into sets with like really short rest, but then a slightly longer break between them in order to kind of keep the readings where we want it to be, but also to produce the same effect. And I think you only learn that from trial and error. If you send me out on a 4-mile tempo, we're probably not going to get the same benefit as going for 2x2 mile with a minute in between. So I think it's just kind of exploring kind of different ways to go about it, depending on the kind of the person you've got in front of you as well.
Yeah, and I guess there's, like you want to accumulate like a certain amount of work and roughly an intensity for the session, but figuring out, like you say, for the individual, what works best for them, like as much as anything, like mentally.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, isn't it? Like that's sort of the piece you have to then solve. Like it might have been at the end of it, if you just did those 4-mile tempos or the 4-mile, at the same intensity, you would end up with the same like fitness result, but you would probably hate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or I wouldn't be able to sustain it for long enough over a period of time.
Yeah.
Get the result we want at the end. So I think definitely it's something like we've explored, probably even more so in the last year, kind of what's the best way to go about it so we can get the most kind of volume in at the right intensity on a given day.
But also, I guess, not get too far away from race pace. And like you said, breaking it up allows you to run a little bit faster for a lower lactate cost. And let's introduce Dave then. So Dave's been coaching you. Dave's your fiance.
Dave's my fiance, yeah.
For only a couple more months, right?
Yeah, so he probably took over my training in, I want to say August last year. So I'd come off a pretty average summer track season. And off the advice of Chris, actually, he kind of suggested that Dave kind of took over my training and the role of coach. And I think his theory to me was he'd be able to keep a better eye on me because he's always close by.
I think I was there. I think that was in Butte Park, right?
Yes.
When that happened, and I was sort of like, why am I overhearing this?
So I don't think I've misinterpreted it wrong. And I was fully on board with it, to be honest. Like Dave and I have always had conversation about training, and he's been to a lot of my sessions, and I think their coaching philosophies were very similar. So I was like, yeah, sure, let's give it a go. And I ran a PB in the half in October. I ran another PB in the half just in February, and then a PB in the 10K, and he's got me on a GB team. So where's credit's due to Dave. Like he's done a good job so far.
Is Chris still involved in like the overall plan, and then Dave implements it, or is it fully Dave now?
It's fully Dave now, but like occasionally, more so at the beginning, like we'd sit down with Chris and kind of go through what we thought we were going to do and if he had any input into it. But now it's all on Dave. So
No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah, so you better do a good job, otherwise no marriage, wedding's off.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's it. I'm leaving.
Yeah. So you and Dave are using lactate quite extensively now. How practically are you doing that in real terms? So you're doing a session in the morning, you're taking some lactates. What are you doing in response to those numbers there that you're getting from your Lactate Pro?
As an example, a few weeks ago, I had a session in the park, and I think it was 2 mile, 1 mile, 2 mile, 1 mile, or something like that. And the first reading we got after the 2 mile was just under 4, but for the pace I was running and the effort, well, the pace I was running, we wanted it to be a bit lower, but the effort was kind of high. So we kind of, on the spot there, we're like, right, in real time, we're going to change the session around. We're going to take away all the next 2 mile. We're going to extend the recovery here, and then we're going to run 3 by a mile a little bit slower, and we're going to try and see if we can bring the lactate down a little bit. So I guess as an example, that's where we used it in real time. Then the other week, I had some LT1 in the morning session, followed by some Ks, and that just gave me the feedback that I was running them in the right zone, because I was coming off a little bit of a break. So it was like, where are we actually at right now? How can we kind of use this data to kind of move forward? So we do use it pretty much on a weekly basis, probably only once a week in one of the sessions. And hopefully over time it shows progression. So the pace is increased, but the cost is the same. That's the hope anyway. But for me, it's really fundamental, because like I'm quite delicate and I burn out quite easily. And I think kind of matching up heart rate, effort and lactate, and knowing how it should feel and what the reading should be, gives me a clear kind of indication of whether today is a good day or not a good day to work out.
So have you got to the point now where you can feel if it's the right intensity or not? You can tell if your lactate is going to be high. I've heard that's a game that Blumenfeld would play with the triathlete with his coach. He's like, right, what number are you? And they wouldn't show him the lactate pro. He'd give a number, and then you show it to him and go, right, he'd say 2.1, and you'd show it to be 2.1. Have you got to that level yet?
I've seen YouTube videos where he does it. Yeah. I don't think I could quite match the reading yet, but I'm pretty sure now, especially for LT1, if my heart rate's sitting at around 170, I'm going to be under 2.
That is high, isn't it? 170.
I know. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Like, I do get kind of like depressed by the fact that I can go out for a run with Dave and his heart rate is like 120 and mine's like 140. But I know we're working at the same sort of effort, but everyone's an individual, so.
Exactly. Yeah, we are individual. People come into the lab and they're I've had people come saying, I'm a bit worried, my heart rate's really high, and they've just got a high heart rate. They'll also have a really high max. It'll go up to over 200.
Yeah.
And, so I've also had people come in and their max is 160, and they're they could both be 30-year-olds. It's 220 minus your age is a load of rubbish.
I saw 202 the other week, so I definitely don't believe the 220 minus your age theory.
No. I think I've been what have I been? I've been a 30-year-old my whole life, I think. Just never changed. So yeah, you're using lactate a lot in training. You've used altitudes historically. Is that something you're still trying to implement?
Going back to the whole, I'm quite a delicate person. I've had like varying. I don't even know if I've had success from using altitude, to be honest. I don't think I've quite managed to balance kind of the stress of being at altitude with the loaded training and the recovery. And I think I've definitely come back more times than I haven't burnt out from altitude with like really poor race results. One thing I really struggle to do in altitude is sleep, which is kind of vital really when you're training high. So I said to myself 2 years ago I was never going back, and I went back last year and I came home early. So I think I think I'm just going to leave it alone. We've got an altitude tent as well, which we have used in the past, and I think that's probably I've had more success from that than I have from using altitude. But sleeping in an altitude tent is also not a pleasant experience. So it's like balancing and weighing up kind of where we want to like impact from these like 1% or where we're going to lose from like the sleep. So it's kind of, I guess that would come into like your kind of performance planning and where you kind of want to put it in a block of training, I guess.
So have you then started to think about other stimulus like heat? They're really popular at the moment.
Yeah, I think when I initially started dabbling with the heat training, I went a little bit too hard too soon. And I also think I started it at a point where I was coming off kind of the European 10K. I was a bit fried from that. I was kind of managing a couple of niggles, and I was throwing in this other stressor of the heat. And I kind of felt like I was getting a little bit burnt out from that. So I kind of let it be, but we're looking to start incorporating it again sort of next week, I think, but with a little bit more kind of strategy behind it.
Yeah, that's the thing. All these extra things you can do, they are all more stressors. You've talked about intensity control and how you found that difficult, Jen, but going to altitude just magnifies that more so. You've got to run even slower to keep lactates where you want them to be. That you're going to burn through more carbohydrates at altitude, like sleep's affected, like you said. I do think altitude is one of those ones where it's 50-50. Either you come out and you're really fit, or you come out and you're pretty useless and you've spent a load of money and time and effort and not got anything to show for it.
Absolutely. And I think because like you see so many like professional athletes going to altitude and coming back and using it before a race and doing X, Y, and Z, everyone thinks it's kind of the magic ticket to like improving your performance. But for me, like consistency is the magic ticket to improving performance. And if that's now getting interrupted every time I go to altitude, or every time I try to do something that's going to like potentially increase my performance by 1%, I'm probably losing out on 5% because I've had to take a week off training. Then I've had to start like building up again, and then I've lost a month of work. So I think that if nothing else over the last like few years, that's like been the biggest learning I've taken away from trialing other things.
Yeah, the sexy stuff. I'd love to go to altitude. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to go to altitude. I've been up high, but not for a camp. And I love the mountains. But you just being in that environment, you can tell there's going to be challenges with it. And for most people, it's a nice thing to go and do. It's not the thing that's going to make or break you. You need to just good, consistent training is going to get you 99% of the way there. From what I see, from what I read, altitude training, you might improve your hemoglobin mass by 3%, 4% maybe. You're the expert here, Owain.
Yeah, maybe. Like for some people, you have to go so high that your training's going to be impacted. It's not consistent. So yeah, one person will get a great benefit of font, and one person needs to go twice as high.
Yeah. And then it becomes impractical for actually training, doesn't it? I'm not going to turn down a 3 or 4% increase in my VO2 max, but if that means other things have got worse, like your economy from not being able to run as fast, and potentially your thresholds because you've not done as much training, because you just can't do as much work at altitude, then you end up with a net zero gain, and you might hopefully you've had a nice time at least. But
it looks way better in the pictures than it is in reality as well, because it's like just the same day repeated over and over and over again, especially at the time of year for somewhere like Font-Romeu. Everything's shut in like the out of season time, so like even finding a coffee is like quite challenging, and that ruins my whole day.
It's just almond croissants, isn't it?
Yeah,
almond croissants. That's the highlight of every day, right?
You're well fueled.
Yeah. And so let's move to what your plans are next, because you've returned to the half marathon over the last 6 months, having a bit of a hiatus. What's going on over the next year, 2 year, 3 years? Are we expecting a marathon debut at some point?
I don't want to give away any spoilers, but Valencia this year looks to be the one I've pinned on the calendar and said, that's the next big goal. So yeah, Valencia marathon in December is kind of what I'm going to attack next. The one of two things I sat down at the beginning of the year and said I really want to do. The other was get a GB vest. So if I make the start line and finish the race in Valencia, I've ticked off the two things I wanted to achieve this year.
Can't ask for more, can you? Can't ask for more. Oh, that's very exciting to see what you can do there. Has Dave already got a bit of a roadmap for how training might change in the build up to Valencia?
I think so. I'm seeing a lot more sort of LT1 stuff being injected in at the moment. So I feel like he's already on the path to trying to make me a little bit more aerobically strong, which I think is probably quite fundamental to the marathon. So I've just got to really embrace the slowing down and the 2 millimole.
2 millimole life, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, I do think that the marathon is an easier thing to approach than, say, like a 3K or a 15 or a 5K, because you need every system to be good. You need to have the speed and the power, the anaerobic capacity, but also be really aerobically strong. Certainly when you go 5K, 10K, probably I would say the 5K is one of the hardest events to get right.
I'd agree.
Because, going back to that performance planning thing, for you, like, the obvious thing is just you need more endurance. You need more endurance at a very basic level, get those thresholds a bit better. For me, if I was going to go and attack a 3K, well, my thresholds and my VO2 max are plenty good enough. I actually need to produce a bit more lactate and have some more top end and get more economical at those faster speeds. So it's definitely more complicated than just doing threshold, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to
compared to the marathon, everyone is just build more endurance. You need your top end to be good enough, obviously, for the goals you've got, but the vast majority of people just need to get fitter, need to be more durable, meet better thresholds. Your VO2 max, maybe for some people it needs to be a bit higher. Your anaerobic capacity, it's not going to be a limiting factor in a marathon.
No, absolutely not. So I'm looking forward to a different challenge. And I also think doing that training and sort of committing to it for between now and 6 months will only help me if I want to then come back and run the 10K and the 5K next year. I don't think it will have any damaging impact on my ability to then perform in those distances. I think if anything, it will be really beneficial.
Yeah, and you often see this, don't you? Like Paula Radcliffe broke the marathon world record, came back around 30 minutes flat for 10K, didn't she? And running very fast over short distances, and world cross country champion, I'm pretty sure, just before she ran London one year from memory.
Yeah.
It was 4 weeks before. If you're fit, you're fit, primarily, to a degree.
Pretty much.
Yeah, maybe not down to a 15 or an 8, but and you might not about finishing kicking a 5K, but I think it's all training, isn't it?
Definitely.
Are you going to do any testing directly related to the marathon? Are you going to do any shoe testing or any testing now and then see how you're going in a few months?
I have seen on my plan get in the lab with Dan, so I don't know if that's been communicated with you yet. But,
it's news to me, but live on the podcast. Yeah,
I think it's coming. It will definitely, have a look at that, I think, and then shoe testing potentially. I've got a few different shoes at the moment, so my problem is I have a really dodgy tendon in my foot, so I've got a pair of the Puma Faster R's, but I put them on before I ran the Manchester 10K, and because there's no obviously they're being designed just to be as economic as possible. There's no support around the medial arch, so for me it's almost a no-go. But I would like to give them a go in a race at some point.
The New Balances I hear are pretty good when they do come out. I'm
a big Asics Metaspeed Sky fan at the moment.
Sorry, I meant the Asics. I don't know why I meant Asics. I meant Asics, not New Balance. I'm useless, aren't I? Yeah, the latest Asics sound pretty good. According to Phil anyway, and a few other people I've spoken to.
Yeah, the really lightweight one, or the new Tokyo
Well,
thing.
Phil didn't rate the Ray, did he?
Do you not?
No, he says it, but he's not tested this. It's just a feel.
Yeah.
But he liked the newest versions of the Edge in the Sky, the Tokyo ones.
Get my hands on a pair of that.
Their new foams. This podcast isn't sponsored by ASICS or New Balance or
any other
whatever.
brand.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd be quite excited to get my hands on the new ASICS when they do come out.
Well, I managed to get my Puma pair with a bet with Dave when he was slightly half cut, so I'll just have to do the same again when the ASICS shoes come out.
Yeah.
Stick them on your wedding gift registry.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Shoes and gels.
Yeah, the essentials.
Yeah. No, that's really exciting to see how you go in the marathon. So I guess the last thing from me, unless Owain's got any questions, is this the Endurance Collective thing. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really exciting. I think the whole idea of kind of bringing us all together, and all our different kind of experiences and knowledge, is quite unique. And I don't think there's that many other kind of collectives like this in the sort of running coaching space. And I think being able to kind of dip into all of our different kind of areas can just provide like a slightly different approach to training. And I think we all kind of believe in the same sort of philosophies, but perhaps have slightly different ideas around how to kind of achieve the best outcomes. So I think for me, like being a part of that and involved in it's like really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. You excited, Owain?
Yeah. It's like you say, like I think we all, I guess, think about things in a similar way, but have got there in different paths, I guess, as well. And that's important as well, like your own like lived experiences, isn't it? And then being able to articulate them to anyone we end up coaching. No, looking forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully some people are going to volunteer to have us. But yeah, no, I think I think we're unique. I'm going to say we're unique. I haven't seen it else out there. I think we do all bring different skill sets, but complementary. You know, we have got a similar philosophy on our approaches, which is good. You don't want complete opposites, and you're never going to get on. But there's nuance there. And Jen, you've definitely got different experiences, especially more in those shorter distance events, compared to Owain, who's got more experience in the longer events. And I probably sit somewhere in the middle. Yeah. And yeah, I think we can do a good job. I think we can do a good job. Get some people running super fast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a bit of a call to action. Apparently that's what you're supposed to do at the end of something like this, isn't it? Is go check out our website. The link will be in the show notes. What else I got on my notes here? Yeah. So go onto our website if you're interested. Fill out the questionnaire there. One of us will reply to you within a week. Judging by how it went last time when I advertised some spots, they're going to go pretty quickly. We want to keep the quality really high, so we're not going to be coaching 100 athletes. The numbers are going to be small to make sure that actually we can give you the quality we need, or you need to really make that next jump in your performance. So get in early. We'll keep up. I think if we are inundated, it won't be a first come first serve. We're gonna go through all the athlete names, and we want to make sure that we can help you and we're the best placed person to help you. If we don't think that we're the right people for you, we'll give you some feedback, give you some recommendations of what to do, but we can't take on everyone, unfortunately. But we will operate a waiting list, so we can give you the option of going on to that. I understand that that's not going to work for everybody, because if you're preparing for Berlin in September, you probably don't want to be on a waiting list to get a coach 2 weeks before. It's probably not going to work for you. But if you want to be, if you're in that situation where it's more of a long-term approach and you don't need to start straight away, then put yourselves on. We'll put you on that waiting list, and whenever there's a slot available, we'll let you know. But if anyone's got any questions, you can DM the Instagram account, the podcast Instagram account, or all all our own social media platforms as well. Anything else from you two?
I think
I think
that's
you
it
did
for now.
a pretty
Yeah.
good job with the call to actions.
Yeah, call to action. Yeah, right. Let's wrap that up then. Thanks both. Great to speak to you, Jen. Good luck for the next few months, and I'll see you in my lab at some point, I guess.
I feel you will.
Yeah.